are back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 52 of Under the Middle Rope. I'm your host, Jose Tabuada. I'm back. I know at the end of WrestleMania, at the end of episode 51, I said I was going to take a 2-week break. And instead, I accidentally went on a break as long as Adnan Virg lasted on Raw commentary. Whoops. That was an experience. I feel like I need to clarify. I feel like I need to clear things up. I feel like I owe an explanation as to what the hell happened to me. First of all, I cannot emphasize enough that I am 100% okay. I'm happy. I'm healthy. There's literally nothing wrong at all. I just felt like taking a longer break than anticipated. I just there was just times where I just felt a little bit burnt out. Just felt like there was so much going on, and a lot of like either busy with work or busy with other small commitments here and there. Then I said, okay, you know what? I think the podcast can take a big hiatus, and I took like a 6-week break. I think it was 6 weeks. And of course, like, you know, mentally I'm also fine. I'm also healthy. I will admit that there was some stuff that has been going on mentally in here in the last few weeks. Some that I needed to try to tackle myself. Others that are just out of my control, and just I just have to deal with it and accept, which is can sometimes mess with my mind a little bit when it comes to that stuff. So I just want to take this time just to, before I go any further to what the episode is going to be about. I just can't emphasize enough the importance of taking care of oneself and just being surrounded by just solid people that can motivate you, people that can encourage you, people that'll back you up and be by your side. And I know I have a great group of friends that do that. I know I have a solid group of friends, you know, that'll check up on me. The ones that'll listen, and that'll stick by through like even some of the most craziest comments. And I just want to emphasize the importance, you know, just be happy and just be yourself, and just be surrounded by people that you care about. And one of the greatest analogies that I like seeing as well, especially when it comes to terms of mental health and re-energizing, is your phone needs to recharge when it's at low battery. Pretend that you're a phone, in the sense that, you know, if you're burnt out, or if you're just running on low battery, or just on just like feeling a little bit unmotivated, step back, recharge. Do something that maybe you wouldn't do, or something that would just maybe step out of your comfort zone just a little bit, just to get more comfortable, just to be happier with yourself. Like go for walks, or read a book, or even something, even just playing video games or playing music, or whatever it is. I can't emphasize enough how important that is, because I just think that the subject of mental health can just be so crucial, and it's crucial to me. I mean, it's why I got like these tattoos here, left side, strong side, and a semicolon, which I've learned is like an unofficial symbol for mental health. And again, like it's not that I've been depressed or anything, or it's not that I've been like feeling down or anything. I sure a couple times in the last few weeks, but again, I can't just emphasize enough that even if it's okay to feel down, it's okay if you're feeling a little depressed. It's just important to know that A, you're not alone. B, there are people that want to support and want to hear you and every word that you say. And I just wanted to emphasize that. I just felt like it was just important, especially something that I've learned in the last few weeks, in this break. That I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm thankful for what's around. I'm thankful that I have people that'll back me up and be by my side, and I'm thankful that I took the time to step back and just be like, and just be in a position to refocus and continue to move forward. So I think just to wrap up this little extended intro, and I know I don't normally do an intro this long. But I just want to say, you know, hey, take care of yourself, be happy, surround yourself with incredible people, with great people that'll support you. And I just think that it can just be a small step to just keep doing you, just be you. And I just want to emphasize that. So of course, like if you're like, just remind yourself, and just anybody else that's listening, you know, if you need somebody to talk to, if you just want to just clear the air, why not? My DMs are open. The podcast Twitter is open. My personal Twitter at Tabuada93 is open as well. Hit me up if you need somebody to hear you. If you need somebody to talk to, you're just not alone. But again, and saying all of that, like I said, I've been great. I've been happy. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be back on the podcast. It's nice to be behind the mic. And of course, I also got to tell you what else I've been up to in the last few weeks that's kept me away from doing the podcast. And it's that I somehow ended up on the radio. Weirdly enough, a great friend of mine asked, "Hey, would you like to be a part-time guest analyst, guest member of a show called Ringside Heat?" And I got clearance for it, and I've been happy to say that in the last few weeks or so, I've been involved with a show called Ringside Heat on Sauga 960, Mississauga 960 AM radio here in the Greater Toronto area, which of course you can hear on Sauga 960 AM radio or on Sauga 960. Sauga960am.ca. You can hear online, and I've been having the fortunate just to be on radio to talk wrestling as well. So aside from this platform of Under the Middle Rope, where we have long extended discussions about topics or predictions, now we have another platform where I can share more thoughts or go into a little bit more detail with wrestling. And today is also a historic first here on Under the Middle Rope, which is my transition into that, because today we are doing an interview. It was something that I didn't think I would ever do, but we are doing interviews, I guess. And today we are interviewing the host of Ringside Heat, my buddy, my pal, Mr. Lex Tan, who got the opportunity for it. So we sit down, we discuss his life as a wrestling fan, we discuss his broadcasting career, and of course we discuss Ringside Heat and what's been going on with that. So I am very excited to do this. Of course, thank you for bearing up with this long extended intro. But right now, that is all for me. So all I can say right now is just sit back, relax, and enjoy Ringside Heat. Hey everybody, welcome to the discussion, or not a discussion actually. As I said in the introduction, it's actually a bit of a history-making episode today. 52 episodes in, a year's worth of content, and we have history in the making. Of course, I'm talking about the man to my right, but of course, I have to introduce him before I reveal who he is, because I think he deserves it. Because from the time his parents allowed him to use their home karaoke machine at the age of 4, he's been obsessed with the microphone and performing. And before getting into broadcasting, he was a theater professional, graduating from the University of Toronto's Theater and Performance Studies program. That's one of the big universities in Toronto, folks. After leaving a driving instructor's position behind, he decided it was time to pursue broadcasting and enter the Humber College postgraduate radio broadcasting program in 2016. And today, he's currently the afternoon drive traffic reporter for TSN 1050 AM radio and Indie 88 FM radio in Toronto, as well as the River and More FM in the Niagara region. He also anchors the midday news on Sauga 960 AM and is the host of their new wrestling talk show Ringside Heat, which you can catch and hear not only him but me on Sauga960am.ca Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern and Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific. And of course, the show is available wherever you get your podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lex Tan. Lex, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
I'm great, man, and thanking you very much for having me on your podcast. I've been listening to your podcast. I've been knowing that you've had this podcast for a while now, and I'm just glad to be part of it.
Yeah, it's been a really fun ride, and some people were asking me, hey, are you gonna do interviews? I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I said, you know what, this is the perfect opportunity, because we both now are working together. We got a lot going on. So the first thing I have to ask you is, how often are you going to brag to the Ringside crew that you were the first interview guest? What are you going to put on the banner? What color is the banner going to be? And are you going to have a banner raising ceremony to celebrate that you're the first person to be interviewed on Under the Middle Rope?
Wow, that is that. I'm scared. I'm sorry. A little bit of a frog in my throat right now, but things that, hey, you know what? You know what? If the Raptors have a banner, the Leafs could have a banner. Hey, you know what? If the Leafs can get a banner, I can get a banner too. So.
Fantastic. That's all we need to know. Thanks for coming, everybody. And as always, let's get to I'm kidding. We're not going to get to the closing. That's all I needed to know, that you're going to raise a banner, and the ring crew on Ringside Heat can hear about it for years and years to come. But we're going to get to Ringside Heat later on, because that is a very, very exciting topic. But first, I want to get to know you, because I think when you meet other wrestling fans, I think it's safe to say it's kind of like a journey, like what started it all. So that's what I want to ask you to open us up. The first serious question: how did you start? When did you start becoming a wrestling fan? What got you into it? What drew you into it?
Well, I got into wrestling around the very tail end of the Attitude Era, so I was able to see things. I was able to see The Rock. I was able to see Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was able to see Chris Jericho, all the greats from that era. I kind of sort of missed out a little bit on the tail end of, let's say, the Hulk Hogan era or the Bret Hart and the Bret Hart era. So I only understood and found out about the Montreal Screwjob and other big things about wrestling, and particularly Canadian wrestling, maybe a few years after, maybe after WrestleMania 18. But that is the day that really solidified for me that I am a wrestling fan, is The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. And because The Rock became my favorite wrestler throughout that tail end of the Attitude Era, he became a huge inspiration for me in everything that I do in my life, not just in wrestling, but also in my career and also the way I handle things, and particularly now as well. Just he is just one of the best people, not just in wrestling but in Hollywood as well. So uh, yeah, Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18. That's what sold me on it. And then when I got into University of Toronto as a theater student, I was able to understand more about the background things about putting together a show and in theater, because I was able to do everything from stage managing, sound operation. I think I operated some pyro as well for a couple of
Oh,
shows or something too. So knowing all of those things that happened in the background in order to create a wrestling show and how it all comes together, and particularly at the highest level of WWE, it made me even more of a fan. So started from The Rock, but then my theater training really solidified my wrestling fandom.
what kind of pyro are we talking? Are we talking about like, WrestleMania 18 pyro where you shot off everything like across the stage, or just very small little flames, little fog machine? How big of a pyro are we talking?
Little fog machine, some
Ah.
confetti, things like that. I mean, like, we were in a small black box theater at the University of Toronto at Scarborough before they actually put in a real theater over there.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so, yeah, our technical director and technical production a professor at U of T was saying over that Scarborough campus, it's just every time he introduced something about the theater, he always preface it with saying, "In a real theater, this would happen, but in this theater, this." I'm just
I
like, okay, well,
I mean, it's funny just because, like, I think, like, especially because we, living in Canada, or like we have like New Year's Eve, Victoria's Day, Canada Day. I think anytime like somebody has the word pyro and a wrestling fan, the first thing they think of is how can I make something explode like a Monday Night Raw opening? And I
yeah,
figured, yeah, I want to hope that at one point while you were at University of Toronto, you tried to push that limit. I'm like, can we just pop a little bit more pyro in here? It's gonna be bad, but can we just a little bit more? I want to go back to oh, I sound like Michael Cole there. I want to go back to something he said earlier, and of course, if you're watching this on video, you'll see that I smiled because he brought up also like what I've emphasized a lot. He brought up what I emphasized a lot on this podcast, especially in the last month. I just after WrestleMania is come and gone, and it's The Rock and Hulk Hogan. For those that watch the podcast, they know that to me, that's also when I got into wrestling as well, 2001, 2002. And as soon as I saw Rock and Hogan, it's when I said, okay, I want to be at a WrestleMania. What was your reaction to Rock and Hogan as well? To the fans, to the crowd, to what it meant as a wrestling fan, and from that point on, moving forward.
well, what it meant to me was that, first of all, again, my favorite wrestler, The Rock, and for always and forever be my favorite. Uh, his ability to listen to the crowd and to be able to go with what the crowd was giving him. And of course, later on, it was revealed by Hogan himself on his own YouTube page that he coached The Rock, or he kind of led The Rock through all of that, because Hogan himself, say what you want about the guy, he does understand ring psychology, and he understands how to work a crowd, and to be able to take his own character, who was supposed to be playing heel, and go along with the crowd turning him face and the Rock turning and the crowd turning the Rock heel, was just intensely mind blowing to me at the time. I didn't understand it fully because I was kind of early in my wrestling fandom at that point, but at the same time, I also understood that hey, you know what, something is different about this match, and. Uh, and what's making it different about this match? Why isn't it going the way that McMahon wants it to go? And it's because of the Toronto wrestling crowd, which is one of the reasons why I love going to shows here in Toronto. I don't need to travel down to Buffalo. I don't need to travel
Yeah.
down to Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Now, don't get me wrong, NXT takeovers at the Barclays Center are a raucous play is a raucous thing, and I
I
would
can
love to
vouch
do
for
that.
that. I can vouch
Yeah,
for that. It's
there
true.
you go.
It's
Exactly.
wild. It's a wild experience.
Exactly. And I would love to go watch a show in Philadelphia because that's ECW country, right?
Also, I can vouch for an experience.
Man, man, that means that means you're in the right position right now. My show, you should be like maybe you should be the host or something like that.
I've been trying to give you the hint for the last 4 weeks now since you started, buddy. I don't know why you're still hosting the show. I don't know why you're saying, "Hey, I'm Lex Tan." We should be, "Hey, it's Jose Tabuada. Here's my." I'm kidding. I'm kidding, buddy.
But either way, it's like, being in Toronto and having the crowd in the arena the way they are. I mean, Dave, Jerry the King Lawler, and the rest of the announcers have acknowledged Toronto as bizarro world in wrestling in wrestling circles. So I have never felt the need to really go venture outside of Toronto for a Raw, a SmackDown, even for a pay-per-view. But of course, I would love to get to a WrestleMania, maybe Hollywood, maybe Dallas. It's anything can happen once this pandemic ends.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
mean, we were even like, behind the scenes, so we were talking about like, what if could Dallas be a thing next year for us, with along with the Ringside Heat crew? Could Hollywood be a thing? And of course, like obviously, we're hoping and praying that it's a possibility as the pandemic lifts up. Was there any point in time I also noticed as well, like, when it comes to a lot of wrestling fans, there's also like a weird break period. Somehow there needs to be like a good mental like step back from wrestling. Did you ever have those experiences where you're just like, I just can't, I have like, you just suddenly forgot about wrestling, and then you realize, oh yeah, I used to be a fan of that? Or was it just been consistently throughout since you started watching?
well, I never forgot about wrestling. It's always been, as soon as the business got into my blood, I've been wanting to do it ever since. I've been wanting to watch. I would be wanting to, hopefully one day participate in it. But the one time that I really got burnt out over the past year, the pandemic actually.
Yeah.
They went when they went to the Thunderdome and everything. It was nice and all, but then it was just it was also, it wasn't just my wrestling fandom kind of like started to wane, but also it kind of contributed, or my mental health also kind of contributed to that as well from the pandemic. It was like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of pandemic fatigue, staying at home, being in front of a computer screen for work, for 8 hours a day, sometimes up to 11 hours a day because of news anchoring and traffic reports. And sometimes I have to do traffic reports until 10 o'clock for Global News Radio whenever they want me to swing in and cover people. So it's tough. It's tough to be in front of a computer screen or a TV screen for 7-8 hours a day, and then having being on the air and then listening to another broadcasted product as well. I started so for a few months, I don't remember how many months, but I just kind of took myself out, and I needed to recharge, and just uh, just had to make sure that I was taking care of myself first before I was able to get into wrestling again. Because as much as it does provide an escape, and it does relax me, it also takes a lot of emotion to
Oh yeah.
to be a consumer of wrestling.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I mean, and I was saying in the introduction just before we keyed you up here. Yeah, I took like a longer break than extended break as well. So like I missed out on a lot of wrestling for the most part. But again, like you said, like I just think that's a great message that you bring up before we move on. Just the importance of taking care of oneself. I mean, not necessarily means that you're depressed or there's something going on, but it's always nice to step back and just mentally recharge. And and thank you for saying that, because I can't emphasize how important that is. Again, I preface that as well in the introduction, but it's great that you bring that up. It's just 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 more message. Like, to me, it's like, if we are able to continue to share that message of like, hey, take care of yourself, don't forget to be happy with yourself, don't forget to recharge when you need to recharge. It's okay to step back, and we can continue to move forward. So thank you for that, Lex. As we move along here, I'm interviewing Lex Tan, Sauga 960 AM's Ringside Heat host, and the whole bunch of other anchor stuff, which is amazing. Let's talk about your broadcasting experience, because you did theater and performance studies at the University of Toronto, and then you said, you know what, I just I think it's time to just to get into just get behind the mic. What was the thought process into getting into broadcasting and the experience of just being a Humber college?
Well, thought process with that is that being in theater and looking at broadcasting, lots of similarities with performance, and it was always something I always thought I wanted to do, and also something that I thought I could do. Uh, but at the same time, one thing that always held me back was the speech impediment that I'm managing now, that I've been managing since I was a kid. Was a horrible stutterer, and I can still feel when my body and I guess, my system, my vocal system, is going to stutter. And it's a bit of managing that. But at the time during theater, the only time I could find that I could manage that was when I was. See, it's happening right now. It's the time that I could actually find out that it happens, or that I can manage it, is when I'm actually on stage and doing things. So when I realized that I could be on stage live in front of people, then I could do the same thing on a microphone, in a radio station, or in a television station, on the air. And when I, and I got into it because I made the decision because, number one, as I had to leave a driver's instructor's job because of mental health purposes. Don't get me wrong, driving instruction is a noble profession. It is also it is also a profession in which it carries almost as much risk of death at a job as it is for
Fair
a cop
point.
or a firefighter.
Fair
So,
point. Fair
yep.
point.
But one of the things that one of the exercises that really inspired me was I think the fourth episode in my curriculum, I would have to uh, conduct running commentary with the students. So I would have to teach them, basically it's play by play as you drive. So what I would do is I would be in the passenger seat, and while the kid was driving, I would be calling the play by play of what's going on around him, what that person, or what the student had to do with their eyes, and where and if they were if they were going to signal, or when they were going to brake, things like that. And so when I started getting really good at running commentary, I thought to myself, okay, you know what? Maybe I could be a play-by-play guy. And when I had to leave the driving instructor's job, uh, I promised myself that when I got on the air at Humber College, I was going to do everything. I was going to anchor. I was going to do traffic reports. I was going to do community event reports. I was going to host music. I was going to do. I was going to do news documentaries. I was going to go and do play by play. And particularly for play by play, I was able to do baseball, basketball, volleyball, and what else? What else? Yeah, primarily those two: baseball, basketball, volleyball were the three sports I primarily did over there at Humber. So coming out of that, having all of this, I guess, all of the experience that I've had, and being able to manage my speech impediment a lot more. When I finally got into broadcasting as a traffic reporter, it also gave me a pretty good and safe place to be, because I didn't have to worry about I didn't have to worry about any political or even controversial topics. Just talk about what's going on the roads, because everybody doesn't want to be in traffic. Everybody needs to know when there's a crash on the roads. And so, very safe place to be, and kind of worked up from there. uh, when I got to Sauga 960, I had one of my mentors from Humber, Elvira Carria. She was a host of an afternoon drive show at the time, and she got me into doing news anchoring there. And so I got to cover things like the American elections, the pandemic. I'm actually kind of blessed to be an anchor during this pandemic.
Yeah,
So that's something that's going to
of
be
course.
amazing to put on the resume. And uh, and eventually they liked me, and they trusted me with my journalism and the way that I produced my quality of my newscasts. That they said, hey, you know what? There's a wrestling show. There's a wrestling show we want to do. Do you want to do this show? And it's like, of course I would. I love wrestling, and I want to put this on. So so they gave me the opportunity, and I'm glad to say that as of the 1st of June, we're going to be 5 episodes in.
Yeah, it's been such a great ride, and I'm happy you transitioned into that. So you know what I mean. Just before we get out the ringside, there's one question I'm curious to ask. What were the
Sure.
challenges when it came to the play by play in terms of sports? Because of course, being wrestling fans, obviously one of the bigger topics in recent recent weeks, or especially in the last few days, was the unfortunate quick run of Van and Burke on Monday Night Raw.
Mhm.
I think before we talk about Ringside Heat, I think it's safe. I think it's safe to just presume like how difficult can play by play be, and like do you think that fans could be a little bit could be a little bit less harsh when it comes to the reaction and the criticism of what happened with Adnan on Raw?
Yes, I would have to say that play by play is probably one of the toughest on-air roles that you could do in this industry, particularly especially for someone like me who's managing a speech impediment, because there's so much happening around you, and it's happening at you at a quick pace. Depending on the sport. Now, with baseball, I think baseball probably would be my own favorite one to do because the action does happen very quickly, but in spurts. So there's a lot of storytelling that you can do. There's a lot of stats that you can refer to. There's and when a home run happens, it's like, it's not an instant thing like it's not an instant thing like a hit in hockey or a goal that's scored, whatever like that. It takes some time for the ball to fly out of the park, so you have enough time to build up to that moment when it actually does leave the park and the umpire calls for the guy to run the bases. But it is a very tough thing to do because it's just it just you there's so much you need to know. You need to know the players, you need to know what they look like, you need to know their numbers, and which makes hockey as well a very complex sport to call because everybody looks the same because they're covered in their uniform and they're covered in pads and they're covered in their helmets, so they all sort of look the same unless they've got like flowy hair or
Yeah,
something like that. uh,
or a
but
beautiful luscious beard.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like that. Exactly. Look at Joe Thornton. I'll know
Exactly,
Joe
that's what I was
Thornton's
going
on the ice.
with.
uh, but but yeah, and so to relate that to play by play in wrestling, uh, with wrestling, it's not just the moves you gotta know. I mean, like it's easier to recognize who's in the ring and everything. So that's fine, but it's there's a whole bunch of new moves and new holds and names for those moves and holds, especially if they're finishers or signatures. But the hard part about that, or the other challenging thing that may not get always inputted in typical conventional sport play by play, is the personality of the personality and the character and what you have to portray as in that role, because not just the wrestlers have to be portraying a character, but good old JR, Jerry the King Lawler, Michael Cole, Corey Graves, they're all putting on a character themselves. And again, it might be just like The Rock said, turning up your own personality to 11, but it's still that gimmick. It's still that character. I mean, you could hear it with Jerry the King Lawler's color commentary over the years when he was with JR, probably the freest he's ever been because
Yeah.
he was able to delve into, I guess, the more heelish kind of perspectives. He was able to he was able to say a lot of more things that probably wouldn't fly in 2021
Yeah.
as a result. But but people would argue that it's the most entertaining he had ever been during during his run as a WWE commentator, and in maybe recent years after his heart attack, when uh, uh, I guess maybe he had to tone down his emotions. Maybe I don't know if that's something that was for his health, but you can see there's a marked difference between Attitude Era Lawler and then 2012 and onward Lawler,
Mhm.
where where he's more of the I guess the neutral, happy, I guess face-ish analyst
Right.
of the
Yeah.
crew.
Oh yeah, you
Uh,
definitely yes, you can definitely say like that. That was like a tipping point for Jerry Lawler after the incident in Montreal, which is again, such a scary moment at the time. Obviously, thank goodness he
of
recovered
course. Mhm.
from that. But yeah, I see where you're going from that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with Adnan, it's kind of sad that it happened to him, and it's also kind of sad how much of the backlash from the fan base that he's gotten, because he's a good broadcaster. Don't get me wrong, he's a very good broadcaster. I've private messaged him a few times, and he tells me like, man, like he has 4 jobs.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, is it 6 jobs and 4 kids, or 4 jobs and 6 kids? One of those things.
I think it was six jobs for a guy. I have no idea.
either either way, great for Adnan, the family man, and great for Adnan, the career man as well, because that is some success that a lot of people in this business
Yeah.
don't get a chance to have. And I can, and my dream is to be as at least as half as successful as that. That's for sure.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think maybe the fans, while yes, it's a very high standard to live up to. If you grew up with JR and the King, that's a very high standard to live
Like
up
the
to. And
bar
possibly,
is nuts.
yeah,
It's
exactly. Exactly, and even Michael Cole and Taz was a great commentary team back in those days as well. But at the same time, it's like because the bar is set so high, maybe at the same time, coming from a broadcaster's perspective, I think we need to have, as a fan base, a little bit more mercy on these guys who come in. And Jimmy Smith, who's been announced to be the new Raw play-by-play commentator.
yeah.
Uh, he could maybe have a little bit more success because he has MMA experience inside the ring, and seems like he's got a big personality himself.
Mhm.
At the same time, it is a brand new world that he's walking into as well. It's not like a wrestler going. It's like CM Punk going into MMA, and he gets his butt whooped basically, just 50 times over.
Mhm.
Because it's just a world that he's not used to, and he's not he hasn't been training years and years to be into. And so maybe there is going to be a transition period for Jimmy Smith. Maybe he'll have a little bit more mercy, but at the same time, it is a little bit disconcerting that maybe that the talent pool that around the wrestling broadcasting circles, McMahon doesn't trust them, and maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know, and it's something that awaits to be seen as the pandemic restrictions lift, and we're able to get back into local wrestling as well. So
Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point in terms of like the balance and like the amount of work that somebody can do, because it can be a lot on somebody's plate. I mean, even yourself right now, you have your traffic reporter, you're doing anchor news as well. Now you tackled on this big new endeavor, which I think now is a great time and a great transition to talk about. Of course, we're talking about Ringside Heat once again, available on Sauga 960 a.m. Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern. I want to show fans a sample of what you can expect to hear from Ringside Heat. So what I got queued up here, a very quick sample from Lex's debut episode on Sauga 960 with the episode "It's a New Day." Yes, it is.
there's a question you'll get asked if you're a wrestling fan, and if you're not, you probably have asked this: why? Why do you love wrestling? Why do you follow it? Why didn't you outgrow it? And if they're trolls, they'll ask you this most annoying question: why don't you know? Why don't you see? Why don't you care? It's F word. No, not that F word. That very, very sensitive word that a young Dewey the Pebble Johnson punched a kid in the face for in high school. Well, at least according to the new TV show created by the most electrifying man in all of entertainment. And you may have even been told that by the people closest to you, that they don't like wrestling, and they may even laugh at you, or even try to discourage you from it. But it doesn't matter what they think. And you don't care if they don't get it. You don't care when someone minimizes the WWE or AEW or Impact World Championship, calling it a glorified Employee of the Month badge. You understand these men, these women struggle to learn how to wrestle safely, take hits, take bumps, performing for 10 people at the CNE, do job after job after job, lather, rinse, repeat, in the hopes that one day they'll hold up one of the greatest prizes in the industry, or wrestle a match on the big stage and have it called one of the greatest matches of all time.
That was powerful stuff, buddy. I loved it. I love the passion into that. How did this all? I mean, you brought up, you quickly brought up earlier. You had your mentor at Sauga 960. What aside from that, what motivated you to start then? And of course, at the same time, what motivated you to say what you said in that small bit?
Well, first of all, what motivated me to start this is that my goal one day is to, as I would say, as I would have been saying a month ago, take Adnan Verk's job. Now, my motivation is to take Jimmy Smith's job, uh, because that's been a dream of mine ever since. Even during the theater days, one of the dreams of mine was to be the play-by-play commentator at WrestleMania, and being able to like be backstage and work with all the wrestlers, and just to be able to meet my idol Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and probably like and probably be like a 5-year-old kid holding on to his dad's to his dad's leg and just have him drag me around everywhere. Uh, that's hey man, it's just like hey, Dewey would like that, or Dewey would appreciate that up to a point, but
Yeah.
uh, but that's and I don't remember what TV show that I saw this in. It's like, so what do you want to do? So one character asked another, so what do you want to do? And the person said, blah blah blah. This is my dream. Okay, now every decision that you make from here on in is going to be in pursuit of that goal. And so I also, as much as I was inspired by that, I also lost my, I guess, I also lost my footing on that particular goal or that particular dream for years.
Hmm.
And it's because of personal things that were happening to me at the time that weren't pretty, I have to
Yeah.
say. But I would but years later, after all that was over and done with, or at least coming out of it, uh, I sort of got back into that idea that, like, maybe I should make my decisions to give justice and to give that goal of mine a second chance, basically. And so when Saga 960 actually asked me about this, what they did tell me was that a different show, a different host was actually enticed to come to Saga 960 and do the wrestling show at that particular station. Apparently, things didn't work out with that particular host. I'm not going to say what it. I'm not going to say who, because that's, I guess, classified information.
Of course.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, that's since things didn't work out with that initial host that was going to do it, they said that they still wanted to do a wrestling show, kind of not as kind of like a response, but it's just something that they want to do to test out what the audience wanted to
Hmm.
hear, basically. And so when my mentor, her name is Elvira Carria, and elviracarria.com is her website if you want to book her for gigs and things like that. Um, my I She told me about it, and told me, "Hey, get this ready. Prepare your resume. Prepare a demo. Blah blah blah. Talk to the program manager. Talk to the general manager." And said, "Okay, here you go." So I talked to the people at Saga, and they said, and they told me the news. Here, why don't you give us a demo and see what happens? Apparently, they really love the monologue. They really love the ring crew segments, and the program manager, or the general manager rather, he also said, "Hey, I'm not a wrestling fan. I know a little bit about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know The Rock, and I know Chris Jericho. That's about it. But I'm not a wrestling fan. But I listened to your demo, and I would listen to this show." And as a result, he put us on the air. And the motivation for that is that the motivation for me putting this show on and keep it going is because that uh, I would have to say that there are a lot of, I guess, negative sort of takes and views that the internet wrestling community can take, and they take it, some of them, some, not all of them, but some of them take it to a level that really kind of like buries the business and buries some of the people
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
work so hard to make their dreams come true in this business. And case in point, Adnan Verk, as he was buried by a lot of
Hmm.
those I guess more negative leaning wrestling fans.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I also, as much as I want to be critical when it needs to be critical, I also want this podcast, this radio show, to at least, I guess, edify would be the best term I could think of, to edify the people in the industry, who are, on the local level, who are on the professional major league level, and also the people who are inspired by the industry itself.
Yeah, and I mean, like when you messaged me that day, the day that you asked me if you want to be on this on a regular basis, like, I saw that, and the first thing I went, wait, what? Because I mean, it's just I mean, to the everyday person, I guess it's something that just doesn't come up too often, right? I mean, I know a lot of people always talk about, like, they can just create these podcasts like what I did, or a lot of people just have like small little blogs, but to be on a platform that big, it's a really really daunting task. So again, congratulations to you, and of course, thank you for allowing me to be part of that when I can. And obviously, I can't be on it on a weekly basis, but at least for me personally, it's been a great ride getting to know the gang that's part of the Ring Crew: Colin, Chico, Mark, John as well, and Steve, who comes in on and off. How's that journey been for you since opening day? And like you said, as of June 1st, we're gonna be 5 episodes into Ringside Heat. How's the journey been so far? Being on the radio, getting this opportunity, any challenges that have come up as well in these last 5 weeks?
Well, this in terms of the journey, it's been such a wild but positive ride so far. I would have to say that with the Ring Crew and with the people around as well that have been supporting this show, uh, it's been a long time. It's been a long time, and probably one of the first times in my life that I've been able to feel support for an endeavor at the
Yeah.
level that I have, at the level of support that I'm feeling right now. And so that is one of the most encouraging things, when you've got a good team behind you, when you've got a team, well, not just behind you, but alongside you. And that's the thing with Ringside Heat and the Ring Crew. I view you guys as not just, as not the people behind me, but the people alongside me. So, because of that, we have been able to have a really good chemistry, a really good, I guess, a really good tightness on the air when we record our segments and things like that. And when we do actually go live, one of these days, once the pandemic ends, we're actually be able to be in the studio
Oh
for these
yeah.
things. Then I think it's going to be even tighter, because we're going to have that pressure of being on air, live to air, basically, right? Um,
Oh yeah, I mean, even like the drills that we'll do at times, we're just like, "Hey guys, we have 5 minutes of you, but I get your point across. Come on, guys, come on, let's go." It's entertaining from that perspective. And of course, you've already had some interesting guests on. You had Jim, your first guest was Jimmy Corderas, which was fantastic, and of course you can hear that on the first episode. It's a new day. Yes, it is available wherever you get your podcast, or a replay on Sauga 960. You recently had Vincent Salvador, an actor from Toronto. Is there who is there any like, what other big names would you, well, maybe like, yeah, let's say that, what other big names would you hope to interview uh as the weeks go by? And are there any other like bigger plans for the podcast, aside from hoping to be in studio? Because I know us as well, and I know I'm dying to get into the studio, because it is fun to be in a radio studio for sure. I used to intern at TSN 1050. It's a lot of fun as well. Yeah, what are the bigger plans or next steps as the podcast continues to roll along?
Next steps would probably be just getting more, I guess, getting more guests that within the major leagues of professional wrestling, like David Bastel, who's the one of the morning show people over at Saga 960 AM. He was the one who hooked me up with Jimmy Corderas, and I am very, very thankful and over the moon, just grateful that. Jimmy was so grateful with his time, and his good friend Dave was so gracious to introduce me to Jimmy. And Jimmy is an amazing
Oh
guy,
yeah.
knows so much, very, very positive person, and you can feel it when you talk to him. He's just has a lot of grace inside of him, so that's great. I would love to be able to. I would love to be able to interview some of the bigger Canadian names. Let's say let's say a Lance Storm. Let's say maybe a Sean Morley. Even I don't know where I don't know where he's at right now with in the whole wrestling universe. I guess
Hmm.
I have a little bit more research about it more, but that's another name. Bret the Hitman Hart. We were looking up his numbers, his appearance numbers the other day, and it's insane.
It's a little pricey,
Yeah.
just a little bit. So Patreon is going to come back very, very shortly for Under the Middle Rope to get Bret Hart off Ringside Heat. Oh my goodness, it's scary. It is
Mhm.
absolutely scary. I don't even want to say. I don't even want to say the numbers. If you guys want to go
Yeah.
ahead and Google what is Bret Hart's appearance cost, go ahead and just make sure you have a pillow nearby so you can land safely after you faint.
And but one name that I would love to be able to interview, because she is one of the greatest of all time, Trish Stratus. She's a local girl. She, pre-pandemic, running her yoga studio, and she's got her own. She's got her own endeavors now that are outside of wrestling, which she's very successful at, obviously. And but at the same time, she is also she never really, I guess, left the wrestling universe in her heart. And
No.
and I'm hoping that and I'm hoping that one day, when we have a little bit, when we have a few more episodes under the belt, I'll be able to talk to Trish one day. In terms of bigger plans, one thing that we were actually kind of wondering about is that we make more connections with the local with the local promotions here, like Smash Wrestling, Destiny Wrestling, which I would love to, which I'll be contacting soon, Battle Arts Academy, and maybe do some sort of a live promotion when the pandemic ends, maybe coinciding with maybe a SummerSlam, or maybe or maybe a pay-per-view. And just big lofty dream goals over here that that we could do a live show on location somewhere where where we have food and the food and drinks and live wrestling, as well as well as a live radio show about wrestling, all to celebrate the first big events after coming out of this pandemic.
Yeah, and of course, all I can say is, obviously, I would do wish you all the best. It's amazing. I know it's weird to say that because I'm on it as well, but seriously, it's been. I mean, like I said, since you invited me, it's been fantastic. It's been a great showing so far. Obviously, like I said, I wish I could be there week after week, but other commitments come up. Not that I'm like a big A-lister or something. I just get busy. But seriously, it's great, and like, of course, I do wish you and Ringside Heat more success as the weeks go along. I know there's gonna be a lot of moments where we're just going to just be flabbergasted and go, "Oh dear God, I cannot wait to get behind the mic to rant," because
Mhm.
sometimes in wrestling, it's just those really weird things that that can come up. Just before we wrap up here, I think it's only fair that that I have to bring up that there is a pay-per-view this Sunday, Double or Nothing. And of course, I will say personally for myself that it's great that I don't do predictions for almost every pay-per-view now, because it's nice to fit in stuff like this. So I have to do it justice. Is there anything that you're looking forward to for Double or Nothing this Sunday?
Well, anything Orange Cassidy, first of all, is something that I will always look forward to. I mean, I know Orange Cassidy can be a polarizing figure in the wrestling industry. Apparently, there are a lot of old school people who do not like his gimmick at
Oh
all.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But look at but I mean, I've been following his matches since from the indies, particularly when he was with Beyond Wrestling and he was wrestling intergender matches with Smiley Kylie Ray. I believe there was a triple threat match for the IWGP World Championship that I watched. It was Orange Cassidy versus Chris Statlander versus versus I think it was, if I remember correctly, Kimber Lee. Those all yeah, triple threat with all three of them.
That is
and
yeah. Yeah, I think I
and
know which
that
match you're talking about. Yeah.
and I and it's insane. It's insane the amount, the just how engaged the crowd is with Orange Cassidy. I am just it, and I also want to see, the reason why is because I know he's not going to be taking the belt. I have a feeling he's most likely not going to be taking the belt off of Kenny Omega anytime soon. Anytime soon. But at the same time, it's tough to say that, even because he's got such a he's got such a I guess a notoriety, a great connection with the crowd, and people outside of wrestling know him as well. Are starting to get to know him as well. Kids are dressing up as him. There's a lot of people that he's on the verge of becoming a cultural icon outside of wrestling. And it'll be interesting to see, because he's not a typical wrestler you would see as a world champion. He's not a typical wrestler character that you would see as a world champion. And maybe he is better as a chaser to the world championship rather than a person who holds the world championship. So it is going to be interesting to see how that unfolds.
See, I like a little bit of chaos when it comes to wrestling every now and then. Like I was a big fan of Brock Lesnar winning that Money in the Bank a couple of years back. I was having the time of my life behind my computer screen and my phone, laughing away at people that were pissed. I think it would be hilarious to see. I don't think it's gonna happen either, but oh man, I would get popcorn and just stare at my Twitter for like 2 hours after it happens. If Orange Cassidy wins holding and just watch Twitter burn, I think that would be gold. But but actually, I mean, I have to say that's what I'm looking forward to as well. It's just intriguing. It's like Orange Cassidy in a world title match. It's just yeah, like it's like you said, polarizing figure, but it should be. I feel like we're all going to be entertained this Sunday. And of course, next week here on the podcast that you can hear like our reaction to it, and of course on Ringside Heat as well. You will hear the ring crews and Lex's reaction to Double or Nothing. So of course, 2 episodes I think everybody should listen to: Under the Middle Rope and Ringside Heat next week when it comes to Double or Nothing. But on that note, Lex, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I definitely had a lot of fun. Hopefully I was a decent interviewer.
Hey man,
hopefully it was
good,
decent. Man. Well, thank you. But seriously, thanks a lot. And like I said, I wish you continued success along the way with Ringside Heat. So thank you. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the closing. You made it to the end of the episode. You made it to the end, and of course, I thank you once again to Lex Tan for agreeing to come on and just talk about his experience. And I want to emphasize again, it's great that he's got this going. It's awesome, and like obviously, he's a guy that I'm rooting for as well to have his dream come true. And be a play-by-play guy and eventually make it into a WrestleMania behind the commentary table. Yes, a small part of me is the hope that he can take me and the others to a WrestleMania if he's behind the desk. But seriously, I do wish him well in all his future endeavors, and not like he's getting fired in a sense, but I do wish him success. He's an awesome dude, and of course I'm thankful that he brought me on to Ringside Heat. So I do wish him well in every step of the way, and congratulations once again, Lex, on the success of Ringside Heat up to date. Next week, it's like I said at the end of the interview, it's Double or Nothing. AEW has Double or Nothing coming up this Sunday, and of course, our usual gang of misfits are coming back next week to discuss and break down the fallout of Double or Nothing. But that is until then. But for now, all I can say is just that. Thank you so much for watching. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us here on YouTube, and of course it's available wherever you get your podcast. I'm Jose Tabuada, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one.